All right. Welcome, everybody. Ryan Groth here, and welcome to this live webinar, Designing Proposals to Sell. So this is under the kind of the overall overarching content for the public that I call contracting conversations. I've done a few of these before, and what they do is I try to have dialogues with people who are bringing real value to the contracting industry. And I'm very selective of kind of who I choose and making sure that they're really bringing the right kind of value. And I'd say a year ago, Ryan and I met through an introduction through some folks in the roofing industry and some people who are well respected and that I'm connected with. And, you know, as I connected with Ryan, I could definitely see why the introduction was made, coming from, you know, similar values and, you know, family and integrity and a lot of things that I try to represent and help the industry, you know, embrace. Ryan's living out, and now he's founded his own technology company out of solving a problem with the roofing organization he's been a part of and still is up in Canada, Calgary, called Epic Roofing. So we'll dig into a lot of that in a little bit. So I'm really excited to have, you know, Ryan on and for you guys to hear what kind of problems he's solving and some of the results that are happening as a result. But first, I want to kind of share a few announcements and a few things before we get into this contracting conversations webinar. So bear with me. I'm going to go ahead and get this revved up. So we're going to talk about designing proposal, how to differentiate yourself from the competition and win more work. So we will be digging in here. This will go no more than an hour, could go less. We'll have Q&A at the end. Feel free to chat in questions as you go, and we'll address those perhaps throughout, perhaps at the end. Depends on what kind of mood I'm in and how good the question is, I guess. If it's a useless question, I may not even answer it. So try to be thoughtful and useful, and we'll hopefully it brings some value. But I do want to share with you that I'm having a boot camp in Miami on a Sunday. So this is a strange time to do it during the week. Why? Well, because the Best of Success conference is there. Roofing Contractor Magazine and I are friends. Love helping them out and working with them and bringing in like the young guns, which are professionals in roofing contracting organizations under 40 years old who are making a difference. I love to kind of foster and bring the right people into that. As a result, they're allowing me to use the same facility, which is convenient for people going to the event at the conference, which is always one of the top conferences to go every year, where best practices are actually shared about how to really grow your business, not just, you know, talk about safety and legal things and technical things, which is all really cool. But what I love about Best of Success is about like sales and marketing and culture and leadership, the stuff that really helps you grow your business because you know, and you find that the best folks are there. So I love hanging out there, and I'm going to do a one-day boot camp. So this is going to be from about 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. You'll still be able to go back and go to your hotel room and then come in time for the reception, you know, cocktail type of hour. But if you want to go ahead and apply the code STG client or clients on my Facebook page, there's an event. I send links out and I have you know, a lot of space left. I have just a few registered, and it's in a month. So I want to fill this up. I want it to be a great boot camp. I'm basically going to be coaching, you know, polarizing your old mindset, some of the ways and the old habits that are there, kind of help you train and coach and give you some content to help up your sales strategy, your sales game, and help you with your sales process and actually activate some things. So you'll get a lot of great information, meet other contractors who are caring about sales or their sales reps. And so I want you to come. And because you're on this webinar, if you apply STG client or clients, I forget which one I put in the code now, you can get 50% off. So it's only $250 a person. I think it's a huge deal because you'll walk away making, you know, at least having your palette moving towards sales development. I'm doing a giveaway. I'm going to give you a free sales scouting report. So this is a $500 retail value. I'm going to give it away to one person, and you must stay till the end to receive it. So if you stay to the end, I'm pretty much going to randomly decide who to give this to, and I'm going to give you a free sales evaluation scouting report. This is going to help you understand all your hidden weaknesses, so that you can coach yourself or receive coaching from someone like me, or if you're a sales manager, understand how to coach your salesperson better. It's there's really only a couple of ways to make sales grow. It's to replace salespeople or to make them more effective with tools and coaching and understanding where their weaknesses are. I like to transform people first before just writing people off. So I think what's really cool about this is you'll get a good insight of all the areas that actually is holding somebody back that you can't really put a finger on. And so this will change everything if you use with the right person who really wants to grow. So really excited about giving that away, and you got to stay to the end though. All right. So that's that. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and hand it back to Mr. Ryan Shantz.
Yeah, this is great. Thanks for having me today, Ryan.
Yeah, my pleasure. Like I said, for those of you listening, Ryan is doing some pretty cool things, and looking forward to featuring him and having a conversation about how to differentiate yourself from the competition through improving your proposal process and making that presentation easier for the customers. So yeah, without further ado, Ryan, you could go ahead and take over from here, and we can begin this conversation today.
Perfect. Sounds good. All right, let's get this going here. So can you just verify, Ryan, you got everything on the screen there?
Looks good.
Awesome. So yeah, we want to go over designing proposals itself. And really when you look at the landscape, subspecialty contractors, there's 700,000 subspecialty contractors. And we all know we're in the business. There's so few barriers to entry for a lot of contractors, especially in the roofing space, that you've got to figure out some way to differentiate yourself from being a professional organization that cares about safety and doing things right, from all those other roofers out there that show up, warranties as good as while they're on the job, and that's it, right? So how do you really differentiate yourself and convince the homeowner of that when at the beginning, all they see is two individuals standing in front of them from different companies, and they're looking at quotes that look virtually identical? You've got to give them more than that. So that was our challenge that we were really wrestling with as a roofing company, which is where we got into this. So yeah, a bit on myself. So as Ryan mentioned, I'm the founder of a technology company called Sumo Quote right now. I'm still one of the owners of Epic Roofing Exteriors. That's up in Calgary, Canada. We do residential and commercial. So we're about 150 employees between the two. So certainly within our province, on the residential side, we're the largest, and the commercial side, we've been growing very, very fast in the last while. And then I always typically tend to get a bit of a chuckle on this one. My previous job before that, I was CEO of a company called Good Society, and we did denim manufacturing. So I've gone from manufacturing denim to being in construction to now being in technology. And there's a not so subtle thread between those three, but obviously each one of them, I love business. I love working and managing business and doing that. The subtle thread in there is that differentiation part that we're talking about here. And when we start looking, from the bottom there, from the denim manufacturing, I don't think there's a more competitive industry from a branding perspective than fashion. Fashion, your t-shirt, you can buy a t-shirt for $3 or you put a logo on it and it'll be $50, right? Like, it's the branding effect that it has in there, and that's what we want to apply to roofing contracting sales, right? Nobody wants to be the low price.
Right.
That's not the goal. So I was able to take some of that, apply it for years in the construction space, and now we've launched that into the technology space. So that's a bit of my background.
Awesome.
And this is my core belief right here: sales fixes everything. And Ryan and I are probably both a bit biased on this because of who we are, but I just feel like you can, if you've got, production matters, safety matters, having proper banking facilities in place matters. All of these things matter, but if you don't have sales, you've got no starting ground to begin with. So I think this is the reason we're on the call today, and why everybody else is interested in this right now as well.
Yeah. So my audience, if you're paying attention to anything I post, you know that I'm a sales trainer and coach and help contractors grow sales predictably, consistently, profitably. And so anybody who comes onto this, I'm hoping to have an angle around sales. So thankfully, Ryan's really sales oriented and his solution does that. But why, real quick, like, what's the whole point? Like, why would somebody say, why would I want to increase my sales? Like, you know, well, in construction, you're always working yourself out of a job, right? As soon as you place a price tag on it, as soon as you got your crews, which is your precious resources, skilled labor to work up against that price to complete the job, you're pretty much chewing away all the money that they committed to, and then whatever's left over is what you make and what you get to keep, hopefully. And then you're obviously spending on investing into marketing and technology and staffing, and so it's like as soon as you stop, your backlog shrinks. It's like you start running out of air to breathe, and you can make a mistake. You can have a bad day and not get enough sleep, right? You can eat some bad food. You could even break your ankle, but if you still have oxygen, you're going to make it, right? And that's kind of what sales does, is to continue to bring air and to breathe for your company. And so I'm excited to have Ryan here to share on how to, make one subtle change to your sales process that'll make, hopefully a lot more quality, rich oxygen come into your company.
Yeah, no, you bet. You nailed it with that stuff. And so here I say the most inexpensive way to increase sales is to win more leads of what you already have. And you really nicely touched on this earlier before as well, in your comment of just saying, hey, the thing I would prefer to do is get more of the people that are already there. It's really expensive to find new people. It's really expensive to train people from scratch coming into a company. And so your approach just lines up perfectly with this, rather than trying to find a million more leads and not being effective and efficient with the ones you already have. If you're already broken, to find more to fill into that is doing a disservice to everybody, and it's incredibly expensive to go through that. So yeah, lines up perfectly with how you go about things as well.
Amen.
So let's put some quick math to it, right? So if we've got 1,000 leads and we're winning 30% of those leads right now, we've got 300 jobs. So the goal would be, how do we increase this to 400? And so we can increase leads, right? We find an extra 333 leads out there. We keep winning the same amount. We're going to get to our 400 jobs. If we increase, the other way to go about it is you increase the sales percent. You increase what's already coming in through the door. And so by increasing and winning an additional 1 out of 10 leads that comes in, you don't have to find an extra 333 leads out there. You're just winning one of another 10 that come in through the door.
What's the cost per lead for your company at Epic, more or less? $50, $100?
No, we're a little higher than that. We're probably 150.
So 150 times 333, right there. That would cost 50 grand.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's 50 grand right there.
And
right?
So
yeah,
it's incredibly, and so that's it, right? It's incredibly expensive to go that route.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot more cost efficient ways to go through it. So So here's a quick case study. So Epic Roofing Exterior. So this is the company that I'm an owner of, and I've got the best data on, and we've been applying the prototype for Sumo Quote to now Sumo Quote 2 for the longest time. So our goal was to diversify from insurance sales and increase our retail sales. We're in Calgary, we're on the edge of the Rocky Mountains, so we're like Denver. We get pounded with hail all the time. And we were trying to we recognized this is a dangerous game to be playing. If we're just waiting for the next storm, we have no control over that. And I know, Ryan, you speak a lot to making your sales predictable.
Yeah.
And so our goal was, how do we diversify, or how do we make our sales more predictable so that we're stronger for the long run? We don't want to be around for 2 years or 5 years. We want to be around for 20 years or 50 years, right? Like, well, we've been around for 20. We want to be around for another 20, another 50 years. So
yeah.
So these are our actual numbers. So this is our residential division, not our commercial. And this is only our retail sales. So it's not our insurance sales. It's not our large condo multifamily sales. It's not our service sales. It's not those categories, because our retail was something that we felt had the fewest variables, and we can most accurately measure the impact that shifting our sales presentations hat on it. So in 2016, we launched it. We were 3.1 million of retail sales for our residential division. And by the end of 2018, we were up to almost 5.1. So we're up 64% in 2 years. And our average win percentage was, we shifted our sales guys, they were at 28% in this category of retail sales. We're up to 44%. I had a couple of guys over 50%. So and that's for a company our size, that's a big number, because we're dealing with 5,000-6,000 leads a year. So a lot of them are quote unquote colder leads. They're not referrals. They're not the neighbor next door or just doing work for a building owner again that we've quoted multiple times over. This is a heavy amount. So there's a lot of selling, and it's a lot of people that are involved with this. So those numbers were powerful for us. That it made a huge difference what we saw there.
That's incredible, and I think everybody watching, your commercial service, great, very predictable, but you're in a residential game, and it's nice to have a storm, right? It's like a shot in the arm. The insurance process is there. There's a volume, game that you're able to play, but yet it's like, I'm an athlete, baseball guy. I mean, I got this shirt I just got made this week, pro sales athlete. I really want to help bring that attitude to what we do in sales, because in sports, it's the same. And if you were to take, in Calgary, is hockey the sport, like the big sport?
Hockey is the big sport, yes.
Yeah. So it's like saying, hey, we got this kid who had this rookie of the year, right? And so he's an animal. He had a really good year. The team played pretty well. But let's go ahead and sign him to a long-term contract and give him a lot of money, which increases the overhead, right? But then he has a sophomore slump, and then he just never was that guy again. And so I would rather take the kid who didn't win rookie of the year, but then was consistent and had steady improvements year over year, right? And then now they're an all-star 5 years in versus the first year, but they're consistent. And if you look at anybody who's a champ, they have a cluster of all-stars who are consistent. And I think what you find when you increase retail sales, it's like saying, hey, the storm year was great. We had a massive year, but we can't count on that to happen next year. We don't know if that kid's going to produce and our team's going to win next year the same way. We want to win every year. So what retail does is it gives you that more things that you can control the outcome and predict. And there's so much you can actually predict and control, way more than we think, that's not dependent on a storm to give you results. And that's behavior, the mindset of the people, the process, the accountability, all that stuff, and the proposals. So I want to just give you a lot of credit and tip my cap to how you just said, hey, we're going to take full ownership of our legacy here and do everything that we can to increase our outcome and not just rely on these unpredictable events.
Totally. Yep. No, and that's where you and I we've tended to see very much on the same. Be on the same page with that, which is, again, it's a great alignment and things. I'm going to ask you a quick question here, Ryan, and we'll see if it's a trick question or not. You might beat me at this, but this number at the bottom here, so increasing the win percentage from an average of 28% to 44%. Who would you say has the greatest control over those numbers shifting? Who would you say has the greatest control of affecting that?
I think I would say leadership of the sales department, because they have the ability to control the variables that create that outcome. And
I would say, that was the mentality that I went about it with, and that's how we went through things. But I'm gonna throw this one out there. I think it's the customer. Ultimately, the customer decides where dollars are spent, right? And that's where I think a lot of people and a lot of contractors, we've really missed that. And there's that buzz phrase of being customer centric out there. Mm-hmm. But it's something that's, I feel like it's only touched our industry in small ways. Mm-hmm. And so, this is the thing where, and I've got this line here, just because you're better than terrible doesn't make you good, right? And it's a bit of a humorous knock, but it's sort of the, if you're only comparing yourself to other roofing contractors out there, just because you're better than them doesn't mean you're actually giving an amazing customer experience to your customer. And here's the thing these days, when I think about customer experience and I start going through this stuff, we could have a customer as a client, a homeowner, a building owner, whatever it is, and we could give them a better experience than any other contractor out there, and they could still feel let down and feel like they've had a very poor experience. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the reason for that is these days people are doing so much online. They're comparing their customer experience with Amazon, with their banking, even with their grocery store, compared to...
We deliver now. We did get delivered to our house.
Well, and that's it, right? Like the customer, we haven't set foot in a grocery store in how long? Because we got 3 small kids. Dragging them through a grocery store for an hour, it's a nightmare.
Nightmare. I just got like a flash of stress just hit me when you said that.
Well, so we can order it all online. We drive up to the building. They walk it out to our vehicle, put it in. We drive away. It costs us $3. Who cares, right? So customer experiences are changing very, very quickly. And our customers are expecting things to change really quickly as well. But our industry has only been measuring ourselves against our own industry. And I think that's a mistake. I think we need to start exploring what the customer experience can be like outside of that, right?
Cool. Yeah, I like it. It's a really good perspective.
And so that's where we start getting into this concept of design and how we can really impact the customer experience and communicate with them through design. And so, quickly here, strong design creates strong consumer trust. Design can alter customer perception on things. Customers, and I see that even with competitors where it's like, well, they show up with a shiny truck that's deckled beautifully, but I know they're working out of their garage, right? But the customer doesn't know that because we both show up, we look the same. It's their perception of us is we're essentially the same.
And let me tell you this, I did software for 5 years. And now you're in roofing and now construction, now you're in software. And I tell you that if somebody doesn't feel like, if the customer is using a software, for example, which is experience and design to a T, right?
Yeah.
If they don't feel that you're upgrading and improving the design, they feel like you don't care about them. If it's stuck the same and it doesn't really they just feel like you don't give a rip because you're not making it easier, especially when other user interfaces are getting better and making it easier for them. And so these guys don't care about me. And in reality, they're doing everything they can with the resources they have to improve. But it's amazing how just that experience, even with software, makes you feel that way. And it's not any different for the homeowner or the building owner or the general contractor or anything like that.
Well, I mean, the classic example is always Apple, right? The thoughtfulness that they put into their design. I mean, my grandmother can figure out an iPhone and how to use it now, right? Because it's intuitive and easy, and it's the design. So, and to finish going through here, design makes your brand memorable, right? It sets you apart from the crowd. And then this last one here is actually really big for our industry. Thoughtful design makes it easy to explain. And what I mean there is, I'll jump into the next slide here. So when you're trying to explain something, Ryan, again, and I'm presuming you'll go with the correct one here, right? But which one is easier to buy from here in front of you?
eBay.
Obviously, right?
Yeah, all day.
It's simple. It makes it easy for you to navigate and easy to understand. And one of the things, from behavioral economics, they talk about something called mental fatigue. The one there, the Arngren.net or whatever, there's such mental fatigue just trying to understand what's going on and where things are, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And when you start to put this lens on your quotes or your sales presentations, hopefully there's a bit of an aha right now where it's like, oh shoot, our quotes could use a lot of work. They may not be clean, simple, easy to understand, and really thoughtful for the homeowner. Mm-hmm. I can understand how, and so actually a story, one of the estimators on the sales side of our roofing company, he came into my office here a few months ago, and he said, "Hey Ryan, you'll love this story." So he said he was sitting down with a client. This was on the residential side. It was a $43,000 job, so a good-sized residential job. And he's sitting there with the client. Client's got the competitor's quote sitting right there, and the client was talking about the competitor and what had been, leaning towards them. And the end of the conversation says, you know what? I'm going to go with you guys. I know you guys are going to do a great job, and I mean, there's so much more detail in your quote than this competitor here, right? Now, the ironic thing is, because my sales guy was sitting there looking at the competitor's quote, he had a little time to look at it. He actually thought they went into more detail, but it was so difficult to understand. It was just text, 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 right? And so you can imagine the client is looking at these two, and it's so difficult for them to actually, it starts getting into industry jargon. All they see is text, they just tune out. Yeah. And so here, I'll go through a quick sample here of what I'm talking about. So here's a sample of a multifamily building. And sorry, Ryan, you can see what I've got on the screen here?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Okay, so here's a sample of a multifamily building. Epic Roofing Exteriors, that's the company that I'm an owner of. And so we actually did work on this building. It was a service job, but this is a project summary report you can see here. So we gave this to them at the end of the job. And so we went through and we gave them a nice introduction or executive summary page. And we said, hi, members of the board, here's what we did. We did 29 window repairs. We did 200 feet of belly band, 18 dryer vents, 220 feet of downspouts. And here's the agreed upon labor rates that we did. And so we're going to charge you $22,000. And it's like, well, great. What did you actually do, right? So then we actually go through and we show them step by step what we did. We make it very visually clean and easy for them to understand exactly what we did. So your downspouts were dumping a bunch of crud into your soffit. We opened it up. It looks like this. So now we've split it. We added a Y connector and everything's flowing smoothly. Your dryer vents weren't venting properly. This picture is just powerful because it shows just how much crud and what a fire hazard it is behind the siding there. And you got to think, boards just don't ever see this stuff. Like, this is very uncommon for them to see. And so that's why you could see on this job, they knew they needed the work to get done. They knew our rates. They just said, go do it. We know you'll be transparent and document everything. We trust you. Just get it done. So it's a $22,000 job that we didn't even put a bid out on. They just said, go do the work because we know how you guys function, how you add value, how you document things for us, right? And then we went through and we showed them a bit of papering on the envelope that was done incorrectly and the rot that was happening with it. And then we rebuilt it. It looks like this. We gave them a warranty certificate as a part of things, something, clean, easy for them to hold on to. And then we added a quick marketing page talking about why, we're awesome, all the different things they can use our company for. We own a restoration company as well, so we can do everything inside and out for them. So a nice report, clean, visually easy to understand. They can quickly go through it, but anybody can go through something like this, understand exactly what happened on their property, have a warranty certificate to feel confident, and walk away feeling like you just did the greatest thing and the greatest service for them.
And that's equally more powerful than having a great proposal. I mean, it's even more powerful, actually. That's where you get the second job.
Yeah. Well, and those are the types of ways that we start to implement design, right? We start thinking through the customer lens and trying to think, well, how do we add value to them? What matters to them? How do we speak their language, right? That's the goal as we go through this.
Yeah, that's good, bro. Thank you. That's good stuff. Very good.
Awesome. So here, the secret to good design. And spoiler alert, we've already talked about it. It's about the customer, right? Donald Miller, he's got a company called Story Brand. He's got a book called Building a Story Brand. Yeah, he does a great job on this stuff. And so here's the interesting sort of thought as we go through this, right? Think about the last time you went online and maybe you were buying, well, that shirt. It's a great shirt. I actually noticed it when you had it on because I knew sort of the philosophy of what you're about, and so I picked up on that right away. But let's say you were trying to find where to get that shirt. You go online, and for the next week, you're just being bombarded with banner ads and stuff like that, right? You've had this experience before?
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on is you've got all of these companies spending billions of dollars trying to guess and anticipate what matters to you. If you're a Nike guy versus an Adidas guy, they're just trying to, guess at what might be important to you. So the interesting part in our space as contractors is we actually don't have to guess, right? Like, we get to talk to every single client, and we can ask them all sorts of thoughtful questions to understand if financing matters to them, or if being a preferred contractor for Suprema or something else matters to them. Like, there's all sorts of questions we can figure out. But then, what do we do with that information? Nothing. Our quotes all look identical to the previous 1,000 that we've made, except for a few line items at the price and the price at the bottom. We don't take that good information that we've gotten, we don't take that and layer that in and create a quote or a proposal or a report that speaks to the homeowner or the building owner on the things that really matter to them, right? Like, we're missing out on this massive opportunity to speak the language of the customer. So
very true, very agreed.
Yeah, so it's that. So how do we understand that and take that next step, right? So, and again, it's this concept of storytelling. So what we tend to do, or what contractors tend to do, is we've got 10 things we love to talk about. So we just talk about all 10 and hope that one of them applies to the person we're talking to, right? And our quote just talks about all 10 every time, rather than really customize it. Whereas the user or the client, there might be one of those 10 things or two of those 10 things that really matter to them. But they have to wade through all sorts of stuff to try and find it. We don't package it knowing what matters to them. We still force them to spend all this mental energy trying to figure things out. And so I'm gonna argue time and time again, design can solve this, right? And being really thoughtful about that. And it doesn't mean you have to use a marketing agency and it has to cost you $1,000 every proposal you build. But just means you've got a huge opportunity here. And there's ways to figure out how to do a much better job of it. It's just important we understand the philosophy of it to start, right?
Yeah.
So here's the concept, and again, this is the story brand, the Donald Miller concept, right? And he came from being an author, so he talks about it from a story perspective, and he'll go through and he'll say, basically a story has a character, and then that character has a problem. They meet a guide who gives them a plan, calls them to action, and then results in whether it's a success or a tragedy, the type of story. But that's why you've got a movie like Tommy Boy that's essentially the same movie as Star Wars, right? And it doesn't matter if it's Chris Farley or Luke Skywalker. They're basically going through the same thing. They're a character, they've got a problem, they meet a guide, gives them a plan, and so on, right? So you think about this, the story is about the customer, the hero of the story, the character, should be the customer. It's when you are building something, it's all about making the customer the hero in it, because really they care about themselves. And ultimately, we want to think they care about our business, and they just don't.
Yeah, we're not the hero. We're the guide that helps them get to where they want to go.
That's right. That's right. So we've got to recognize we're Yoda, right? We're not Luke Skywalker in this. So, and now there can be, and I'll show you that again. Here, let's walk through one other quick example here. And this is on a residential job here. But applies easily to commercial and other industries as well, right? But the power of putting the building right on the front, there's an emotional attachment that the building owner, the homeowner has to that. So that all of a sudden feels very customized to them, right? And then you go through and you've got an introduction page, and you can talk about the pain points that they're feeling or the specifics of what you're going to do on that job. You make it about them, and again, you're speaking their language. And you can talk about your company and how you're different as well. This page, oftentimes if I'm selling retail job, I'll say, well, hey, you're going to spend a lot of money here. Like, this is important for you to figure out. Why don't I walk you through the components of the roof just so you understand this, right? Because you're spending all this money, you want to make a good decision. And so at this stage, I can start gaining trust with the client. I can start planting seeds for potential upgrades with the client. there's lots of different things I can do with a page like this. And so it feels, again, very much for the client and about them, right? You can see I haven't been hammering on my company the whole way through here. I'm trying to give the most value to the client and speak their language.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go through and I'll share an inspection page perhaps. So if there's a dead spot behind a chimney, I'll give them a quick picture of that, show them the solution. And again, I'm adding value to them. I'm educating them. And again, I'm positioning myself as the expert. If I'm the only one really describing
what the corrective action would be, right?
Yeah. But you got to think a lot of contractors aren't thorough in going through this, right?
They may not, if anything, they may not even like take a picture of the problem, much less add the corrective action in that.
Yeah. And so now you're justifying pricing and margins on this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So yeah, we're $1,000 more, but look at what we're fixing, correcting, and how we're going through this, right?
The right way, the first time, the right way.
Right. So, obviously as you go through the story, through the quote here, you've got to, list the work being done on the project, give a price. We're big on the authorization page. We're big on always selling upgrades, and whether it's upgrades on product and what it is, or it may be always including an annual maintenance package that you're looking to sell to them and include as part of it. Again, it's creating that recurring revenue as you go through. So you're trying to help them forecast, anticipate, problem solve everything as you go through, even with things like that. When they're signing off, on the residential side, what do they need to do next? They need to pick a shingle color. So it fits correctly through the story, and then you've got terms and conditions. So you've got a very clean, every page is put in for a thoughtful step-by-step walk of how you want to take the customer through this, right? And even if you're not sitting there with them, like maybe you met with them, they didn't sign off, later that night they're trying to figure out between the three quotes sitting in front of them, your quote is still basically has that voice of the salesperson, because you're still giving them that content even though you're not there. And so you're still differentiating yourself and setting yourself apart at this stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is great.
So here, let's jump back here.
Clean and easy to understand. You're not getting like a mental fog. You're not getting tired thinking about it. It's just, you get it, you consume it, it helps solve the problem.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's that back to that story of, this was easy to understand. It wasn't just a lot of text. It wasn't a bunch of industry jargon. You made it clean and easy for me to understand. You thought about me in this process. Yeah, I'm buying from you, right? Like,
talking about like Tommy Boy, for example, I use one of the clips in one of my trainings, and it's like the funny one where Chris Farley and David Spade are getting ready to go on a bunch of sales calls, and he's like, "Do I look fat?" And he goes, does this suit make me look fat? And he goes, "No, your face does."
Yeah.
and then he's like, "It's a clip on," and he goes, "You sure?" And it was just, but what was funny was like, neither of them cared about the customer, right? Because Chris Farley's just wanted to tell his own story and, be really hilarious in trying to convince them that he should buy better brake pads. And then you got David Spade. As soon as somebody said, maybe, he goes, "Well, the combustular alloys and all this stuff." And like, he started using industry jargon. And one of the things I tell my clients, like, dude, they don't know or care what like mechanically fastened is. What they care about is the leak or, their safety of their production line going down or a slip and fall. If, that's what matters to them.
Yeah.
And not the industry jargon. So, I think that's what most people think that they're doing is trying to educate. And I think a contractor has a good motive, right? It's noble. They want to do what they can. That's why they're doing what they can, but it doesn't necessarily going to mean it's working. And what matters is how the customer feels before, during, and after their experience with you. And the more that they feel understood by you, and the more that, then that's all that matters, right? That's all they want, is to make that feeling go away or to get the new feeling that they want.
Yeah.
And so, that's really good. And I think that, visually people are going to understand something, and less is more. You had like one sentence next to each issue and corrective action. And less is better.
Totally. Yeah, completely agree. And I mean, you nailed it with that. I don't need to say anymore. You nailed it with that step. So, and it's a great lead in actually to this slide here. And so this is a bit of a freebie for people. It's really free because I just stole it from StoryBrand, so it didn't cost me anything, doesn't cost you anything. But here's a great way for you to walk through that thinking that Ryan just described there, right? So what you want to figure out is, so you got to figure out the character, you got to figure out the problem they've got. And you might say, oh, I know their problem, right? The roof's leaking over here, this is going on, and it's resulting in this, and, it's that David Spade, like, oh, it's the combustular, right? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
no, you need to understand what they think their problem is. You need to understand what their thinking is, what their feeling is, and you need to speak to that. So just because you understand technically what's going on with it, you need to understand, say, who is the character? So what is the problem? The problem is the building hasn't been touched in 20 years, and it really should have ongoing maintenance. The problem, but they haven't had an ongoing, steady tenant in the building. And so it's been a struggle for them because their occupants...
That's what they care about.
Right? Yeah. And so how do you now speak that language and go through this with them? Because then if you speak that language and talk to the pain of that, you probably have a better chance of selling to them than if you just say, oh, well, yeah, your building needs a new roof, so figure out how to pay for it, right? So
right.
This might be the character is a homeowner with an insurance claim, and they need to figure out, they've never managed an insurance claim before, and they're just feeling lost and confused. And it might be a homeowner with a leak on the roof, and now it's ruining their party on the weekend, and right, like, and so this actually, if you go through this, you're going to find a number of different characters, and for your business, you might find 4 or 5 very, very common characters, and 4 or 5 very common types of problems that you're dealing with, and you start to set up templates and ways that you can actually really quickly build quotes like this because you're replicating them so fast off of templates that you already have built. And so this doesn't have to be overly complicated. You just want to put a little bit of thought into it. So
go back, take a picture of this, screenshot it. If you don't know how to do that, just press print screen or alt print screen on your computer, and you can slap this into a PowerPoint and then save that as a PDF or something like that. So what you could do is just try to walk through this process, right, Ryan? That's what you would encourage our viewers to do.
Yeah. No, this is great. Again, it's about the customer, so understand them. And
let's pretend they're a general or a subcontractor, specialty trade with high-end specialty trade services to like relationship-based GCs. So then it's about the general contractor. If it's a residential homeowner, it would be about the homeowner. If it's a property manager or a facilities manager, that would be your character, right? What's the problem? So then just kind of walk through it.
And actually, it's a great, I've got a good example with that one as well. Last year, early in the year, I sent a quote to a property manager. It was for sloped roof, partial siding, metals on a building, $237,000, right? Called her up a week later, just said, hey, we'd love to work with you guys on this project. How are things looking? And she said, well, the roofing contractor we always use, he's great. I use him all the time. His number came in at $207,000. She said, but I really want your guys' company to have this job. So feel free to, tweak your numbers if you want to before I give it to the board. And either way, I'll be pushing for you. And it's like, well, great, right? That's the perfect scenario. We had plenty of margin in there. We tweaked it a little bit, didn't feel like we had to match, and yeah, won the job. But my question to her at the time was, well, hey, that's terrific. Thank you for that. I got to ask you though, I'm just curious because I'm the sales manager. Why are you so interested in using our company? We've done one service call for you one time, and you're raving about this other contractor. So what is it? Why are you interested in working with us? And she kind of, she rolled her eyes and she was like, oh man, well, I know it shouldn't matter, but that quote you gave me was just so good. Like, I had a question, I turned the page, there was the answer, right? Like, I just know if I put the 2 quotes in front of the board, they're going to be like, well, obviously we should use this company. It'll just make my life easier if I work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it, right? Like we were able to recognize who they were, what was going on, understand their pain, build a quote. It didn't take any longer. It just, we were thoughtful about it, and we won a $230,000 job with it.
Something I want to just really quick, because we're running out of time here. We're probably going to have like 3 minutes, and then
Okay.
we're going to do a little Q&A, and then I'll give away the scouting report. Can you share, just open up Sumo Quote real quick, and maybe just slide it over so people can feel it for a second. Obviously, if you guys want a demo, then reach out to Ryan, LinkedIn, or go to his website. I mean, he's really responsive, Ryan at sumoquote.com. But I just want to ask, this also, you can pre-populate like what items would be so that it estimates in here too?
Yeah, so there's a lot that you can do with Sumo Quote here. So I know we've been talking a lot about design. So I started a sample project. So I'm just going to go into the details here.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to click on create a new report.
Mm-hmm.
So here we can see a lot of these pages we've been talking about. So now we just fill in these pages. So for the primary image here, I can drag and drop something in there. I can click to add that to my computer. And so I can add an image, and if I go view page, it's basically taking, it's already got some of the information in there. It's got the branding. It's layering things into a professionally graphed design quote. So on the introduction page here, you can
list.
type.
You have a list, right? I like that. You got the
Yeah,
list of,
so I
okay.
go there and let's say use my retail text, and then I just customize it with their name and a line or two.
Yeah.
Inspections, really easy to do. So again, we go on here. I can select from my computer. I can make my notes on here. And then I can even, if I go edit on here, I can crop this, right? And I can actually annotate and mark this up as well. So everything's done right in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to add more photos and so on. So yeah, lists. So here's where we can have, here's my standard line items, my standard unit pricing. You know, I can have more lists up here. So if it was a Hardy job, maybe I use my Hardy list. And then all I do from here is I can add items, I can delete items, I can take them and move them around throughout here. So it's pretty, once you load a little bit of content in here, it's really fast and intuitive. And you're just turning pages on and off, right? So I'm going to flip on an authorization page. Here are these custom pages. So here's where if I want to talk about financing on a regular basis, or if I want to talk about a referral program, or if I want to share, you know, here's that explaining what components go into a roof. So I can select that, and then I just drag and drop it and layer it up throughout my presentation here. So you can see how really quickly, if I go review and share here now, you know, I've spent maybe 60 seconds on this, and already I've got a pretty thorough basis of a quote built here, right?
Yeah. Curious, are your reps printers in the car so they can turn this around like one time, or do they go back and do it at their office? Do they do it from their phone? What do you found is optimizing? How have you optimized for the speed?
So we can do a couple of things. You can start building. If you order an Eagle View ahead of time, you can already have the numbers. You can walk out to the property, snap a picture of the front of the house on your iPad, and then just walk in and present, and it's done. And this send for signing here right now, you can actually have them e-sign it. So you can email it to them straight through here, which will give them a link, and they just click on that link.
Best used on like a laptop though.
You know what? It's great on an iPad. It's great on a laptop or a desktop. Really good even on your phone. You can use it. Like
so you can like pull this together and then upload it even from your phone, and then like, you know, present it if it's like a quick repair. Because a lot of my clients are commercial roofers that do service, or commercial contractors that do some kind of service, and like estimation is a logjam, right? It affects the throughput of the whole function.
Yeah.
And so you know, and then service, when there's a leak, like it's mainly about like, can you just fix it, right? Especially if the account already like knows you and works with you. So I just think that's pretty cool. Cool. All right. Well, yeah. So do you want to cover anything else for a moment, or do you want to go into some Q&A?
Yeah, no, I mean, the one other thing I'll point out in Sumo Quote here, and I think you'd likely be a big advocate of this as well, is having a dashboard and being able to see and know your numbers is powerful. And
Mm,
so with Sumo Quote here, you can do it both at the user level, or you can go through and go all salespeople and look at it as a company and have it broken down for the entire company and by team person as well. So there's some pretty cool sales features and sales management features in here. But yeah,
mhm.
again, Ryan at sumoquote.com, reach out to me. I'm happy to help walk through this stuff anytime. Like I love this stuff. I love having conversations with contractors. And yeah, I think there's a ton of power in actually making it about the customer and making it easy for the customer.
Cool. All right. Well, do you mind doing a quick stop share and then for a moment? Cool. So let's open up for some Q&A. I think there's a little hand raising ability. If you have something, I can unmute you. I'll actually unmute you for a moment and you can ask a question or two. I have a few minutes for that. So raise your hand. And if you have a question, if not, we will wrap up the call with the giveaway winner. Right. We have a question. His name's Derek, and you are unmuted. Go ahead, Derek. I think you're unmuted, and you might have to press the unmute button or something like that.
There we go. Got
okay.
it. All right. Can you hear me now? Hey, Ryan. How you doing today?
What's up, man? Long time no talk.
No. Yeah. With the program, the Sumo, you can then just integrate it by taking pictures right on site with an iPad and then integrate them right into the quotes.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, when you click on add item or where you would add a picture there, if you're on an iPad, it'll say, do you want to pull from your photo library or do you want to take a picture? So either one, you can just click take a picture, snap the picture, it'll dump straight in.
And then pre-setting up, obviously I was watching you do a little bit of it there. So you can basically set up all different things, whether you're doing as a repair for a time material, choosing that as an option compared to being able to have something like a full roof replacement set up in there. So you can choose different options as far as from a catalog or something along those lines.
Yeah, so you'd figure out how you want to present it to them, and certainly you and I can connect afterwards, and I can walk through some different ways that you can, because if it's going to be time and material, they're essentially signing off on a contract, and you just want them to get that signature on the approval. So you would more or less lay out the details of the work, not necessarily give an actual line item for exactly what that line will cost them, right?
Right. Obviously, everyone's going to be a little bit more specific. Each situation is going to be unique, especially in the roofing industry, which we're in as well. So when we're going out there, whether it's a repair or a replacement or a section replacement, obviously, but if you're using a certain line of material, so say you're using a flat roof material, then we would indicate that and be able to just choose that. So it says all the specs about, let's say, Flint elastic, triple ply system, installing, and then so at least that we don't have to retype in every time.
Exactly. No, you would easily save all of that stuff in there.
Perfect. Sounds great. Sounds like a neat program. I'm gonna look into it further. Thanks.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Derek. All right. Anybody else have a question? There's another one. Josh, you are unmuted.
Hey, Ryan, what's up, man?
What's up, brother?
Hey, Josh.
Hey, so over here at Quality Roofing, we're probably like a lot of guys that are out there. We use company cam when we go out, and we'll take our pictures, and we'll be able to sit there. It goes from the phone, and we can transfer it from the phone into our contractor's cloud and move stuff around. If we use this program, can we log into can we pull stuff from company cam into this?
We've got company cam and us. We're friends. We like each other. We see each other as both being sort of the best at what we do within the market, and so we've got a planned integration coming later this fall. So awesome. It'll be direct with company cam soon. Not quite yet, but it is coming.
Okay. So in the meantime, should I just take additional photos, or you know what? I'll find out from Taylor if there's a way I can save the company cam photos outside and move them over to that program.
Yeah, like would you be working, are you talking about if you're working on a desktop back in the office?
Desktop in the office, or if I'm working laptop in the field?
Yeah, so you would just have two tabs open. You'd have your company cam tab open and your Sumo Quote tab. You'd basically just dump the images that you want onto your desktop and then take them one at a time into Sumo Quote. So it's, it takes an extra couple seconds, but yeah, we're looking to make it direct and easier for you guys.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah, beauty. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
You bet.
Cool. All right. One more. Going once, going twice. Anyone? No. All right, that's it. All right, so the winner for the sales scouting report, $500 retail value to help you understand one person in your company's sales strengths and weaknesses objectively, not with your industry only, but with what a overachieving, high-performing salesperson looks like, is Jerry Thiel with GW Thiel, my friend out of Chicago. So give me a quick holler. I have your email. I'll send you the link, and we'll get you or whoever else you want on your team going, and I'll give you the results, and I'll let you see what this thing can do for you to hopefully uncover areas for you to improve that individual who wants to get better at selling. Awesome. Well, that's it for everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be sending a recording out, so share this with your team members. Ryan, thanks again for coming on and adding a ton of value. My big takeaway was make it about the customer. And yes, sales leadership is so important, but what we want to do is make it about them. We want to train our clients to care more, listen more, pay attention more, present according to what we heard. And when people know that, like our wives, our children, when they all know we care, we're paying attention, it's not about us, it's about them and about our clients. Everybody wins and everybody loves us more, trusts us more, pays us more money. So anyway, thanks again, and really honored to have you on today, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Really appreciate it. It's always great connecting with you.
Thank you. All right. Sign off, everyone. Thank you.